Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Zamrit. I'll be walking you through some of our thinking around IT risk management here in the ADGM. It's an important factor. This afternoon, we started off this risk forum with an address on cybersecurity. And the question then is, yes, cybersecurity is very important. It's an outside-in perspective in terms of protecting you from external threats. But when we talk about IT risk, we're talking about the broader domain of IT, where it's not just about external threats, but also internal threats and your operational resilience as well. A very good example is earlier this year, there was an outage by the company called CrowdStrike, which I'm sure some of you were affected. Many of your companies would have been affected. This was not a cyber attack on a cybersecurity company. This was plain and simple a lapse in an internal control that led to an outage of a system that is used by almost everybody around the world, and especially the impact to those of you who are using Windows as part of your day-to-day operations. So when we talk about IT, we're not just talking about external threats from a cybersecurity perspective, we're also talking about internal resilience and practices as well. So broadly, what we have observed here in the ADGM are that companies typically fall within 4 buckets when we're talking about their technology implementations. On the extreme left, the pointer is not very strong, but you can see that on the extreme left, what we are talking about are companies that build and develop their own systems. They have full control over their technology. And what this means is that they can make a decision on where their IT strategy is going to lead them to, how it's going to support the business, how they're going to run their operations. And as we go further to the right, what we will see is the level of control reduces. The next bucket of entities that we see are typically companies that rely on their group for IT services. Some control is available in terms of how they're going to manage the relationship with their group IT functions or with their head office to decide what kind of functions they need to supplement the services within the local context. The next bucket are typically companies that are based here, but they outsource IT to external companies. They have greater control in that they can decide where they want to go, but ultimately they are subject to the availability of functions and features in the marketplace. And on the extreme right, and this is something that we are seeing a lot more of within the region and definitely here within the ADGM, are companies that have a very lean footprint in technology. And this lean footprint in technology is because many web services are available that have sliced up the entire financial ecosystem. They have sliced up every single aspect of banking, every single aspect of securities trading, every single aspect of insurance business, and they've come up with very tailor-made solutions that you can just subscribe to on a monthly subscription, rather than paying thousands of dollars or millions of dollars in licensing fees. Now, why is this important to appreciate? This is important to appreciate because as a regulator, we must understand what is happening in the market. If we don't, we will not be able to tailor-make our regulations to be fit for purpose and fit for the market. So having an understanding of this is vital for us to think about what's happening. Now, why is this happening to begin with? Now, 10 years ago, a major concern among regulators was the transition from traditional IT implementations with on-premises infrastructure in data centers to cloud computing services provided by cloud service providers. 10 years ago, many of these cloud service providers were not very mature. But now, in 2024, many of them have a plethora of services and functionalities that will enable you to secure your implementations and build very resilient systems that can provide services to your customers. Today, what we are seeing is another step, going beyond cloud computing. What we see are many companies leveraging on these very modular web services to deliver services to customers, as well as automate their internal processes. The traditional view of a regulator imposing strict requirements and strict rules in the world of IT is going to change, and it has to change. Because if you are relying on a web service provider where you subscribe online to some monthly subscription plan, you don't have full control in terms of how they are deploying the IT services. So what this means as a regulator, when we want to tell our firms that you need to make sure your IT environment is robust, we need to think about what kind of controls that financial institutions have over these web service providers. But at the same time, we also see as the new fintech companies that get licenses, they may start off with web services, but over time, they wish to build more proprietary applications because they can't find the right fit of a solution in the market. And what happens, what we see is they transition slowly back to the left, and they start building their own systems. So while we have to address what's happening on the right, we also have to keep our framework in tandem with the developments that are more traditional and where software development is still practiced. So what we have done is, 3 weeks ago, we published a finalized version of the IT risk management guidance. And this guidance covers a broad spectrum of IT domains. Now, you might think that this document might be really technical and difficult for people to understand. But what we have done is we've tailor-made it such that different people within the organization can look at this document and appreciate the elements that are relevant to their work. So for example, if you're a CEO, if you're a board member, if you're a compliance team member, or even in the legal team, the first section on establishing a culture on IT risk management is relevant to you because we're talking about governance, we're talking about risk management, we're talking about third-party management. These are not technical topics. But of course, if you're a member of the IT team, you want to delve into what are the best practices that I should adopt to build my systems, to run my operations, then of course, the second and the third sections are relevant to you. And if you're a more forward-thinking institution, you want to implement AI technologies and blockchain technologies, like we saw here today, there's a robot suddenly appearing in the panel, then the fourth section is relevant to you because we provide a list of best practices for you to build governance models to manage these new and emerging technologies. Now, of course, setting out a best practice guidance is not enough. Over the years, the FSRA has published multiple guidance on different topics. We're talking about mitigating cyber threats, delivering robo-advisory services, APIs, biometrics, blockchains, and cloud computing best practice guidance that are already out there. But fundamentally, in order for us to raise the baseline of security controls within the ADGM, we cannot rest on our laurels and depend on something that was written almost 10 years ago when the industry was still growing and the fintech culture was still growing. So in 2025, we will be publishing a new set of rules to strengthen our requirements around IT risk, cybersecurity risk, and contributing to the overall framework of operational resilience, which is something that even international standard-setting bodies are moving towards. So looking forward, it's something that the FSRA is seriously looking into. And as we grow, we definitely want to continue to provide a very safe and secure environment for financial institutions, as well as protect the interests of our customers, the clients, as well as investors. Thank you.